calling you a radical. I want to get this up. That's the highest score in Clyde Cooley, the #1 finance professor in the history of the country. That's the letter of recommendation. He wrote, I want to address the GameStop because everybody's calling me, especially ex-students, blah, 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 who are, I like how none of them, I made them all rich, had them buying Tesla stock in 2011, but none of them are going to support me. So let me explain something to you, game stalkers, and the dumb money. I want to talk about this. This is important. So what happens, this Ponzi scheme, this Ayn Rand Greenspan, this low interest rate, and this loose money, people are trading stocks that have no fundamental. So the philosophy to stick it to the man on these hedge funds that have these shorted, and this is important because the Epstein Island hedge fund, Black and crew, Debs, they run the museum. They run for real. They're the gatekeepers at the moment. Now, I protest there so much. And I'm all for sticking it to them, but here's the thing, you don't understand what these hedge funds do. Now, the good ones, I'm an ex-derivative arbitrage specialist. Something happened to the weight of that place. By the way, the Madoff crew, we knew that they were fucking crooks clear back then, and the SEC did nothing, because they're in on it. By the way, both sons are dead. You do know that. Guess what the one died from? AML leukemia, the same. So the big short on Balco. So you gamers know this, you think you're going to get rich, more power to you. These dumb money. This is important. But here's what these hedge funds do. This is what I used to do for a living. I hedge portfolios. So the good ones say they're short, and you create this massive short squeeze. Guess what they do? They have calls on the other side. That's what I used to do for a living. It's a guaranteed way to not lose money. I was deadly at it. How come you're not a gazillionaire? I was worth a lot of money, but something happened on the way to that place. I got leukemia. I got cancer. And I'm an environmentalist anyway. I walked away from Wall Street in 2000 because I watched the corruption when Bush got elected. And snow job, I started watching. I couldn't do it anymore. I started to watch the corruption. I started to fucking watch it fucking play out. And, when they went computers, went from the hand signals. I worked on the CBOE for a while. I'll tell you how fucking powerful I was at what I did for a living. I used to call the CBOE, the Chicago Board of Options Exchange. The secretaries and everybody who ran the show knew my voice. They didn't have caller ID and all that shit. Oh, Mr. Blanche, what are you looking for today? Well, I'd like some out of the money, maybe 75, 70s, and 65 calls on connection. Or maybe, how far out do you want them? I'd like to get them, 3, 4, 5 months out. Okay, we'll see what we can do. Next day, they were always written. Always. I'm the first guy that identified that they shorted puts on the airline. I'm the guy. I'm the guy that identified they shorted the fucking airline stocks close to the money. They made fucking 10,000 to one shot. They made 100 and traced right to the bank of Saudi royal family. I'm the fucking guy. I knew that. The Saudi royal family. I was teaching at Weber State. I just came home when 9/11 happened. Full of Saudi kids in those fucking classrooms. I taught the fucking derivative fucking arbitrage class. I taught the fucking options class. So what they do, you think you're sticking it to them. Mm-mm. They got you covered. They've got calls on the other side. Not always. Some of these stocks are there and you got a lot of lazy, dumb money. But here's what happens. So you're mortgaging your house, okay? You're mortgaging your house and you're buying stocks and you're making some money. Good for you. More power to you. Now, #1, there's going to be a tax liability on this. Make sure you cover that. But 2, what it'll do psychologically, it'll change your lifestyle. It'll change you. Now, the whole mantra of going in and using debt, Trump's perfect example is, but my scumbag, crooked, weasel, thieving brothers stole the whole family estate. Why, I was in the bone marrow transplant. I've been fighting for my life the last 9 years. I got a bill for $1.8 million. I forked over $1 million to get in and exhausted, and Mike Lee kicked me off Medicaid. But that's all. I'm happy to be alive. And I'm an environmentalist. I walked away from Wall Street fucking well over 20 years ago. I couldn't fucking handle their corruption and sickeningness. So what happens, you create this lifestyle, and in your mind, you're like, okay, I'm going to borrow this money, and I'm going to use this loose money and this cheap money, and Rand Greenspan, and their falsely stimulated interest rate, dead as hell. And when I make the money, I'll pay. But here's the problem. A lot of times people don't use that money, go back, and they change their lifestyle. They change their lifestyle, and then the Ponzi scheme grows, and everybody's built their own personal Ponzi, including Trump. Trump's a perfect example of it. And Trump pulled it off because he coined the term. If you owe the bank a little bit of money, you got a problem. If you owe them a lot of money, they got a problem. I mean, he's played it. He's that slick willy of a fucking crook, but his pyramid scheme's up. And, the whole housing bubble, it will come down. And when it comes down, it'll come down hard. Same with the stock market is being manipulated by the United States Treasury, which should be against the law. So, I understand. And by the way, Reddit has a thread on me. It's disgusting. I knew Aaron Swartz personally. Reddit sure the fuck don't get it. Be careful. Number one, you know what's going to happen. Well, it already happened. The SEC, they have rules of, groups manipulating stocks. So I'm more power to you, what you're doing. Stick it to these motherfuckers. I'm all for that. But start to work on who the hedge fund is, should have went after that fucking dirtbag black. He should be in prison. The Epstein Islander. These creepy fuckers need to be stuck to, So, I'm going to give you a trick. So you guys, when you're doing this. Now, you got to get approved for options. They'll approve you. Unless something's a problem. My phone ringing off the hook today. All we hear is Radio Goo Goo, Radio Lady Gaga. Wow. So, here's the trick. And remember when you get rich off this trick. When you're shorting a fucking stock, heavily shorted, buy calls out of the money on the other side so you don't get burned. Okay? You're going long on a stock. Buy puts. That's what in the old days when hedge funds were legitimate. I used to hedge portfolios for like the Lung Association and these municipalities. Very safe, very, it's a good strategy. Now, I'm anti-stock market these days, have been for a long time, just because of the corruption, the environmental toxic poisoners, but I'm deadly. Play back the tape in when I had all of you shorting GE, from 60 down to anything. By the way, GE, that stock will go bankrupt. Be careful with that one. There's the one you should be shorting. There's the one you guys should be hammering down. What? Fukushima. The poison. We took Chicago Bridge and Iron down, didn't we? How come you didn't make it? It's funny because I had people buying fucking puts on Chicago Bridge and Iron. Right when they had their fucking big gap and went bankrupt and people made so much money. I was having open heart surgery. My aortic valve failed from the heavy chemo in my body. I was given too much to live 9 years ago. I'm still battling, but so, that's what I was. You find the arbitrage disparity, which is going on right now, and then you can identify. So you go through the puts. It's mathematical. My math is the God part of. I have a nuclear physicist background, quantum physicist background. So, and these computers are running these things. Stick it to these fuckheads and their fucked up computer. I'm all for you. But when you find an arbitrage, you know what an arbitrage is. So, in arbitrage, you can find the disparity between the stock, and if it's in bed with another stock through a merger, through whatever, I call them, remember the old movie? What are you into? I'm into murders and acquisitions. So, the big short on Balco. So, you find the disparity. That's what I did and I was deadly. I was the best in the world at it. I made so much but I couldn't do it. My mate died of leukemia in 99. She was from the Ukraine. Whoa, talk about good looking. Talk about mind. But I realized that my health and the environment, and I know that traders and hedge fund people die very young. I was on the Chicago floor last open. Talk about intense, and they'd all die young, and and I saw the corruption. But so you identify the arbitrage, then you can exploit the arbitrage through the derivatives market. You can go in, look at the puts, and see if they're out of line. And there's a guarantee there. So if there's a guarantee, if the put is not matching the stock, whether it be on the long side or the short side, you just simply buy the long put, and then whichever way it goes, you're going to make money. It's a guaranteed, of course, you guys are you're casinoing it. By the way, you go to Las Vegas and put money on the roulette wheel. Yeah, but we know that game's rigged, huh? Remember when they switched to plastic balls? And, they use the computer on side to make sure if there's a big bet. It's real easy. The people up in the eye in the sky are controlling. It's all computerized. If you got a big money and you're winning, that's like when they went to 8-shoot decks. By the way, Edelson, who did that, who rigged the game in Vegas. And Vegas is close, so you got all the gamblers, and there's a lot of gamblers in this country. That's what they're doing. They're playing the markets. So be careful, and watch your tax liability, and be careful the Ponzi scheme that you create, because it will come tumbling down. And the other side, these hedge fund fucking creeps that you're going at, they're going to counter. And they don't play fair. And guess what? They have all the power on their side, the corrupt fucking government that we have. By the way, Trump was the worst of the worst as far as that goes, is corruption. So was Obama. And guess what? What about your health? What about Fukushima? Because nothing else matters. So be careful. But when you make a lot of money, pay that fucking debt structure years off. I know that's hard to do, and you just keep thinking to make more. Handle your tax liability. Because what happens is psychologically you change your lifestyle. And you change your lifestyle, and next thing you know, the rug comes out. And then you're sitting there with that fucking pile of debt and your Ponzi scheme. Trump. Trump, I've made so much money on fucking debt. By the way, the loose money, the forging fucking names on fucking banknotes and fucking all that stuff is so outright. And they just allowed it to go on. And like my attorney says, these fuckers are forging my name on my own fucking land. Yeah, but the banks don't give a fucking, I says, until they defaulting on the loan. Then they give a fuck. So, this Ponzi scheme, and Rand Greenspan, this falsely saying fucking, what has it done? Tax the future, fuck, it's outrageous. So, there's the fucking good advice. And when you get rich, of course, I have people coming to me and say, you changed my whole life. You made our whole family worth fucking many millions in 2010, 11. You talked us into buying Tesla. Well, the old days, the hedge fund industry, you got 20%. I'm like, send me one. All I ever wanted was a new car, but, like I said, your health is your wealth. So, use some logic. I'm all for what you're fucking doing. I'm all for it. Hedge your positions. Stick it to these motherfuckers. Fucking stick it to these fucking rats. Next one you should be hammering is everybody who's connected with the Epstein clan. That's where you should be going. You should be hammering GE down. GE's the most overpriced fucking grotesque. And you're like, it's only $10. Fuck, it should be zero. Say by zero. And so use the derivatives market. You can buy puts and calls on the other side. That's what they do. So fucking love what you're up to, by the way. I support you as the activist investor. In the old day, we used to call them activist investors. The board of directors, shareholders meetings would get together, and these crooked CEOs, they'd vote them out. But what happened is these stocks have gotten so big and so broad in electronic trading, there's so many shares outstanding that you can't rally a group of fucking shareholders. There's too many of them. They're too broad. They're too spread. They all know that. So there's no accountability. The activist shareholders, which that's what you are. You don't know you are, but that's what you're activists. You buy the stock, you're a shareholder. And so I'm, consciously, socially, go after the right ones. You need to be doing this to the fucking environmental toxic poisoners like Bayer, Monsanto, who fucking gave us all cancer. By the way, so and I need to talk more about this. Your pets. And I'm a research PhD. That's what I am. I'm the environmentalist. That's, you want to try me. The marine biologist, Kevin D. This is more of my work. The cancer epidemic in the post-Fukushima era, which has killed more animals than the previous 2 million years. No one seems to care. Stock market makes all-time high. Pacific Ocean dies. Your pets. Your dogs and cats, we have a radical acute catastrophe going on in the United States for cats and dogs dying of leukemia. Their noses to the ground. It's Roundup, I'm here to tell you. And remember they were going to settle that? Oh, how nice COVID worked out for them. I remember they're going to settle that case. That was how many years ago? Bayer, Hitler's old company. You should be hammering doing this to Bayer Monsanto. You should be doing this to GE. And by the way, post-Fukushima, so you mix up Fukushima with Roundup, which I was given 2 months to live 9 years ago. Doctor looks you right in the eye and says, you have 2 months to live. And I had a lot of money, and I traded like crazy. Play back the tape. I mean, I was deadly. I turned 3,000 into 800,000 in just fucking few months. It's right there. But I was uninsured. I was working on a PhD. The university could have paid for it, and they didn't. And I had to fork it over. I got kicked off. Man, it's been 9 years of fucking horrific battle. I mean, I had open heart surgery. My gallbladder went, but that's what it is. There's no, I mean, this is an acute radical catastrophe. It's happened to pets. They're all dying of cancer. They're all getting leukemia. Just like the shellfish, just like all the fucking people. You go spray some more Roundup. Pay more attention to your health. And start hammering the right ones. And I support you guys, by the way. You activists fucking, the dumb money they call it. Whatever, I support you. But be conscious, hedge your positions, and go after the environmental toxic killers. It's a good strategy, and I like how you've organized it. And I think Aaron Swartz would love you guys, by the way. And I knew Aaron Swartz personally. And by the way, Reddit sure the fuck don't get it. Any folks don't give him much when I knew Aaron Swartz personally. I was in the courtroom the day he died. I was in the courtroom full of leukemia. I was in the courtroom in Brooklyn the day that, they failed to give him the deal, and Obama, Heyman and Ortiz at Harvard killed him. And by the way, Trump's Ponzi scheme is tumbling down. So your pets. Why aren't you going after those people? And these dog food companies that are using ground up dead whale and poisoning the mink and COVID-19 creeps. The environmental toxic poisoners do that to their stocks. I support you. When you get rich and famous, like I told Damian Lillard, who I know personally, like I told Donovan Mitchell, I know personally, don't forget me, which they always do. Your health is your wealth. Stand tuned.